Yup, doing a review for Sparking Zero. Um Overall I think the game I'm gonna get straight to the point. I do think the game is good. There's not that much bad about the game. I would say there's a lot of things in this game that little annoying things. A lot of things aren't just necessarily bad. I wouldn't go as far as just say anything's really bad. It's a combination of things that are like, death by a thousand paper cuts. But as a Dragon Ball Z fan, I will say 100% honesty, Sparking Zero is everything I asked for. Is everything I could have asked for in a Budokai. Me, I didn't grow up in Budokai, but I did play Raging Blast, and I feel right at home. In my opinion, it's closer to Raging Blast than it is to the Budokai series. Or actually, it's closer to Budokai mechanic wise, but um, flying around and the way it looks is closer to Raging Blast. But I did play Raging Blast. I think I played a Budokai on PS2. But this game is everything a Dragon Ball Z fan can ask for in an arena fighter. And one of the things I'm glad it did, I don't think it needed, I don't know how many years it is. I think it was 12 years. But I don't think we needed 12 years before our next game. But I am glad they waited a while because one of the problems with Storm 4, a very good another anime arena fighter game. The biggest problem with Storm 4 Connections or Storm Connections is that we've seen it all. I've always felt like Storm 4 should take a break, or the Naruto arena fighter should take a break, come back after like 4 years and redo animations, give people new combos, add in transformations, add in some new systems. But since you release the same game again for it feels like almost all the arena fighters, we've seen it all. And with this game, it doesn't. This game doesn't feel like a new coat of paint at all. It feels completely different from Xenoverse. I'm not a big fan. I mean, I like Xenoverse, the verses, but I wouldn't go as far as say I'm just a diehard fan. I didn't like the art style that much, and the story was all right. Wasn't I appreciate the fact that they went away from the canon story of Dragon Ball Z. But um, I'll talk about the bad first. The biggest problem I have with Sparking Zero is also the thing that the developers sold the game on. I will 100% say, and I'll stand on this. I don't like the fact that if you can't pick your favorite characters, there is a point in ranked where there's a time where you have to, give up playing someone you love because they're just literally not capable of winning. And some people I've heard people on the internet say, well, just get good. The developers themselves said that characters in this game will have a harder time fighting someone who is higher DP. Meaning, if you are better than set player and you pick a character you love, such as, let's say, I like to play Raditz, and that, or my favorite character in the non-canon movies is Turtles, or not. That's not my favorite character, but Turtles is one of my favorite characters of non-canon movies. If I want to pick Turtles and I play someone who's worse than me at the game, but they pick, a fusion, or they pick a character with After Strike, I have to significantly work harder just to play a character I like. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're better than me. That's not how fighting games usually work. But you can also make the point that this is not a fighting game, and that's another point that I come around to. I mean, I listen to the community a lot. I'm in the comment sections. I'm on the Reddits. I'm watching videos. So I'll say I know what people are saying on both sides. Another side is saying that the game isn't meant to be balanced, and that balancing things will change the fun factor. For instance, the biggest problem right now with Dragon Ball Sparking is timeouts and Yajirobe and androids. And After Strike Image. That's another thing that leads to timeouts. The problem, I don't have a problem with androids and Yajirobe and After Strike and going for the timeout plan. That's not the issue. All fighting games, arena or not, have broken stuff in them. The problem is that if we encourage that this is all right because it's not a competitive fighter or that's going to ruin something, the problem is that will exist 3 months from now. If we encourage that 3 months from now, Yajirobe and the androids and After Strike will still be the same thing because we allow it. But the point is, this stuff should not exist. Yajirobe should have a spotlight. That's fine. But it should definitely be a time where the gamer should be looking for something that's different. But, if you're logging on to the game, for instance, right now I have a problem in rank where one of my favorite characters are Super Saiyan 4, but I play GT Goku, I play Super Goku, and I play, who else do I play? And I play like Android 13. I have a lot of videos of him. That team is not that good. That team is not that good because they don't have After Strike. They don't have instant immersion. I'm not playing for timeouts. I play for characters I like. There's not that many Yajirobe fans. That's not a fucking thing. But I don't know. I wouldn't say people are encouraging that Yajirobe should exist. I don't think that's necessarily the truth, and I think that's unfair. I see where people are going with where something drops in the game and the fans are instantly super quick before the game is even had time to, set and people learn how to play the game. People are super quick to say nerf something or buff something. I get that. But that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is when someone says buff or nerf something, the reaction to it shouldn't be no, be quiet. The reaction should be, well, let's see if they look into it. Let's see how it is 3 weeks from now. Let's see how it is a month from now. But it is clear, the game has almost been out for 2 weeks. It is clear as day that Yajirobe needs to be nerfed. That Z counter, or I think it's Z counter, the move where you do up and X or up and square, depending on what you're going. Z counter or up and X needs to be adjusted to be more frames. There needs to be rework with another mechanic. The vanishing mechanic is when you go into Vanish Wars. It's a cool mechanic, but after you play the game for a couple hours and you get in a Vanish War and neither of you are going to lose, you do spend almost a minute and 30 seconds just wasting your meter. You're just sitting there because it's not hard to time it. I'm even to the point in Vanishing Wars where I just decide that I'll lose because I don't want to sit here and just waste my energy. So I'll let them kick me back and then they'll do their special and I'll try to dodge it. I do that a lot. I just don't want to sit in Vanishing Wars. And that's fine. That's fine. But that's probably, I mean, there is some more bad. That's just fighting competitive, because a lot of people, and another thing, I think right now it's early in the game. Of course it's early. But the fact that people are saying things shouldn't be tweaked. They're looking at now rather than how will the Yajirobe and the androids affect the game if things stay the way they are 3 months from now. 3 months from now, think about how things will be. That's the point I'm coming from. And a good point that I want to make is, what's the point of having a roster of 180 something characters that if only 20 of them, 15, if I'm being honest, are really liable to win in higher ranks? High ranks are meant to win, but I think saying that it's not a competitive fighting game is not doing it justice. That's like another analogy I can use is what people are saying, we're like Yajirobe and all the Itos and people who are strong instant surge, the Brolys. When people are saying that Just play who you like. It's like bringing a knife to a shotgun battle and saying that it's fun or fair because I like the knife more than the shotgun. That's what Sparking Zero, fans sound like that are saying that things shouldn't be nerfed. Things should 100% be nerfed. You don't. That's no one is saying. No one is saying change the DP of cost or anything. I just want things to be more. Honestly, I want things to be more of a skill gap. I think the reason people are playing this way is because it allows them to win. They're seeing the results of winning more by picking a character. Picking a character should not increase your racage of winning. It should increase basically how much life or characters you get down. You shouldn't be able to pick a character and win, which is happening in Sparking Zero. Yajirobe and androids actually increase your chances of winning. It's insane how many you see in ranked. And it's funny because the developers said that they wanted that Hercules are supposed to be weak. Basically, the developer said that based on DP, that's how strong a character is. That's gonna be farther from the truth. That's bullshit. In this game, it doesn't matter. In my ranks, I'm B5 currently. Dude, all I see is Videl, Yajirobe, androids, and that's what I mean by that's. Obviously, I see the Brolys and the Itos, but them three and did I say Master Roshi? I think Master Roshi too. But them characters are not high DP. They cost no more than 3. That doesn't make sense. Also, another thing I feel like this game does a lot is it's very hard to what would you call it? I'm trying to put a word on it. This is right off the brain. I didn't write nothing down. But it's almost a fighting. It's almost like RNG of what your opponent is going to do, which feels weird to say. In my opinion, fighting games, because this is a fighting game. Regardless of what you say, it's a fighting game. I don't see why saying it's not a traditional fighting game gives it things that a pass about how unbalanced it is. What I'm trying to say is usually fighting games are supposed to be like chess. My pieces versus your pieces. Let's see who moves them in the right direction. But in chess, you can only move certain pawns. You got to move the pawns first. Then you can move the knights. And then you can move certain pieces. But in chess, you can't. In this game, it feels like you can move the queen before you move a pawn. And it's like, and you can move a tower right at the beginning of the game. And it's very unpredictable. Unpredictability isn't necessarily fun in the game. It's fun at first because you're excited, but that's another thing. This game is rock paper scissors. It feels like every 3 seconds in this game, it's rock paper scissors, and I can even go further. It might be rock paper scissors in every encounter. If you press X, you have to gamble your opponent is holding perception. I'm on an option like I don't think perception is bad. I love the mechanic perception. But if you were to add a perception meter, meaning you hold perception, if you hold perception, your meter goes down. Your meter goes down. If you hold it and no one attacks you and you keep holding it, your perception meter should crack. Meaning you have to wait such and such moments for your perception meter to reload. That right there, that little fix would make a lot of people not just hold perception. Because me as a player, I don't hold perception, but I have to assume my opponent does. My opponent assuming I'm going to hold perception. So what does that do? It wastes his time. We're too scared to do anything because everything we run into is someone holding perception. And it's weird. I just wish perception was like a meter, just a meter. Or another thing you can do for perception. There should be some bigger risk to holding perception. It's very fucking strong. In perception, the easiest thing I can compare it to is like Street Fighter 6 parry. You can just hold parry, but if you hold it for too long, you waste your meter. Parry is one of the strongest mechanics in Street Fighter, which also on the flip side, it's also one of the things that will destroy you if you just try to spam it anytime you can. And I just hope perception comes down. Maybe perception should be tied to your ki. Maybe it should be tied to put it on the skill point meter bar. Maybe your skill point bar goes down if you just hold perception and you waste skill points. That right there, that little fix. Imagine if perception was on your skill point meter bar. Meaning, if you're holding perception, that will lower After Strike. That will lower Yajirobe. That will lower Instant Surge. Because now you have to choose, do I use After Strike image or do I use perception? But it's like, where's the restraints on certain things? There's not that big of risk reward in this game. The biggest risk you can do is pressing a button. And that is not how fighting games are supposed to be. If the biggest risk to me is actually pressing X, because I can get Sonic Swayed, I can get Perceptioned, I can get Supered, I can get Grabbed, I can get Vanished. Any punching in this game is not effective at all. People, if you're in higher ranks, I know people who in the higher ranks understand. If you watch higher ranks anyway, if you just watch it, if you look up a YouTube video right now of higher ranks, they don't throw punches. They throw ki blasts and then they throw punches. And if they don't throw ki blasts, because you can get punished for that too, they'll just fly around waiting for their one moment. And that's not fun. But that's just if I had to rank the multiplayer versus online out of 10, I would honestly give it. Let me talk about the good thing. Let me talk about good, because I do think the online ranking is good. Like I said, Sparking Zero is the best roster they could have done ever, in my opinion. They didn't hold anything out. Any character, I mean, obviously there's probably a character or characters that are not in the game, but this is like the best roster they could have done, in my opinion. I have no problem with the rosters. I love the DP system with the roster too, because it makes, in theory, because that's not how the game is turning out, but in theory, the DP system encourages you to use all characters. It doesn't encourage you to go to Super Saiyan 4. It encourages you to start as GT Goku and build up to SF4. It encourage you to pick Goku and Vegeta and fuse to get fusion. That's not how the game is turning out, because people are saying, fuck it, this character has, after Image Strike, I'm just going to pick him. But I do like the DP battle system. I don't know if that existed in the older games, but it is good in this one. Another thing I would like to see is in solo battles, I would like to see just solo 1v1 around base. I think round base is pretty fair. I played solo 1v1. They end super fast. You lose life in this game instantly. So, and I would like to see in us 1v1 that maybe you got round 1, round 2. And maybe it's first to 2 because it's faster. There's only one character. You're probably both picking top tiers, so it's fine. It doesn't really hurt anything. In DP battles, it's fine because DP battles takes fucking forever. I've had more timeouts than any game I've ever had. This game timeout is ridiculous. Also, I don't know why. I don't know if you could put the time on screen. Maybe I need to see that. But another thing I love about this game, it actually makes you feel like an anime. Way more than most anime games do. Demon Slayer, the Demon Slayer anime game was good. I've played it. It was decent. I just don't know how to explain it. Maybe because it's not like flying around. I don't know how you would make a Demon Slayer fighting game. It was good. I also like the My Hero Academia fighting game. They're like games that like are good, but they don't really capture what it's like to be in an anime. In this game, there's nothing like having a character with 2 health bars. You have like 1 inch of health, and you do something, and you coming back, and then you pop your big super, and it lands. That makes it really, that the moments right there are very good for the game. They're very healthy for the game because they will exist almost forever. Also graph clashes. This game makes it really like, we want you to make you feel like you're in an anime. The graph clashes are good. Beam clashes are great. The perception animation, I don't know what it's called, is great. The transformations are great. I have no complaints with the way the game turned out as far as what it is. I'm not changing. I'm not saying, because a lot of people. I'm not saying change the blueprint. I'm saying just build upon it. But for the story, what I would rate Sparking Zero's multiplayer online versus, I would honestly give it. I'd give it a 10 out of 10 because it's weird. It's weird. It is a 10 out of 10 arena fighter or Dragon Ball Z game. It's a 10 out of 10 multiplayer versus system. It's not necessarily the developer's fault because I've played fighting games my whole life. And if you play fighting games your whole life, you know one thing is true. People are going to pick the strongest thing. That's just how it works. People are always going to pick the cheapest thing. And it's impossible for developers to always account for, because something will always be strongest in a game. It's impossible for developers to account what is going to be strong and how long, how people will play. Because I don't think they were in the studio saying Android, let's make the androids and just have them armor and then grab. Maybe that was the thing, but maybe they didn't think players will play such a way. So, it's not always on the developers. Cause like, in Mortal Kombat 1, random analogy, but like Serena's in the game. I don't think developers intended for Serena to be annoying. I intended her to be easy. But onto the story. I did play the story. Um, the story is all right. My biggest complaint with the story is that I kind of wish in this story they had Goku, Vegeta, and Goku Black, or Goku, Gohan, Goku Black. And why I'm saying that is because a lot of the story, I would have rather had three characters or four. I would rather have three characters with better animation. A lot of this story mode is lackluster. A lot of the time you already know what's happening unless you're going for the secret battles. But secret battles are pretty good. I've had a few. I don't know how to get them all. I have to look them up. But I rather have cutscenes, just natural born animation cutscenes. But this game went quantity over quality. So there's a lot, but it's not polished a lot. There's a lot of pictures in story mode. There's a lot of pressing A. There's a lot of still moments where sometimes you're just skipping things because the game isn't really intriguing at that time and moment. Story is probably the weakest part of the game. I don't really like the story, and I've played this. I mean, I've tried to play the story. It's not. I've only played it for Zen, and it's all right. It's not nothing too crazy. I kind of wish like they took it more seriously. And the honest reason story mode, I mean, I'm just talking out of thin air, but the only honest reason why I think story mode is not as polished as it is because it doesn't really have to be, because it is the game that fans have wanted for 16 years. They did deliver on what's going to matter in 3 months. Meaning, basically, what I'm saying is the story mode is bad in this game. Analogy for this is, if you were served burgers and fries, the fries can be average. As long as the burger is perfect, then the meal is going to be rated good, is what I'm saying. And the story mode is basically the fries in this situation. They're all right, but the main attraction is the fighting, and that's excellent. So I don't really have the story doesn't hurt the game, or I wouldn't say it doesn't. I wouldn't say it helps the game either, but it definitely doesn't hurt. It's not like it's so bad it's hurting the game. It just doesn't help it, is what I'm saying. That's a better. It's just there. Yeah, story mode is just there. If you play it, you play it. If you don't, you don't. Um, I think that's all. I think that's all. I don't think there's anything I would improve on the game. If anything, my message to people who, who think Sparking Zero, and I don't hate, like, don't get me wrong. When I say this, I completely understand where people are coming from when they say they don't want things to be touched in Sparking Zero characters or balance. I get where they're coming from because it probably, I don't know, a lot of these people probably play fighting games. I play fighting games a lot. And things are so fast to get nerfed, it's kind of ridiculous. And in Street Fighter and Tekken, things are so fast to get nerfed that it's a little bit too fast. But in some fighting games, but I'm not saying. All I'm saying is my message to Sparking Zero players is how does Yajirobe and the androids, if they do not get nerfed, 3 years from now, how does the game? I mean, not 3 years. 3 months from now, how does the game look if Yajirobe, After Strike Image, or is it After Image Strike? I don't know. But After Strike Image and the androids, if they don't ever get touched, how does the game look uh competitively, casually? How does the game look 3 months from now where everybody is just picking the same character? Because that's what happens with meta. Every game has meta. All I'm asking is I want the meta to switch. Every game is going to have meta, but the meta should always switch. This season, it should be androids and Yajirobe time, but a month from now, it should be the Ginyu Force. They're already kind of strong. They're decent. They're not that strong, but they're decent. Actually, they're pretty fucking good when you pick all of them. But I'm saying maybe it should be Yamcha time. Maybe it should be Tien time. Maybe it should be Topo, Dispo. I just don't want to see the game go down a rabbit hole where everything is just the same 3 months from now. But that's basically it. If I had to rate Sparking Zero out of 10. Sparking Zero out of 10. Oh, yeah. If I had to rate Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero out of 10, I would give Sparking Zero a 10 out of 10. Meaning, as a Dragon Ball Z fan, Dragon Ball Z is my favorite anime of all time. And I might not like Sparking Zero more, is not my favorite. I don't have Sparking Zero better than Raging Blast as it stands right now. I don't have Sparking Zero better than. I'm trying to think. I was about to say Z Fighters, but that's a very close one. I'll give it to. I think Sparking Zero is better. I haven't played that many. I mean, I've played a lot of Dragon Ball Z games, but as it stands right now, I do give Sparking Zero 10 out of 10, mainly because it did everything it could to give us what it wanted. And the truth is, there's always going to be things to complain about in games. That's why I give it a 10 out of 10, even though I said bad things about Sparking Zero. Every 10 out of 10 game in the world that I've ever said was a 10, I can still go back and say something bad about it. That's not a criticism, I can say that, Elden Ring is bad. I mean, I can say Elden Ring is one of my favorite games of all time. But I can also complain about how it's buggy when it dropped. I complain about how characters have attack delay. But that's not going to take away from the game. The game has more goods than bad by far. And basically, if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan or an anime fighter fan, you got everything you wanted from a fighting game. That's what really matters. At the end of the day, Sparking Zero delivered it delivered for Dragon Ball Z fans, and that's great to hear because Sparking Zero could have ended badly. It could have been bad. I don't know what they could have done bad. I mean, I've heard things from before the game was released, hella DLC. They didn't do it. I don't know what they could have done bad. Shitty internet, and this game kind of does got shitty internet, but that's why you got to set to high requirements. But yeah, a 10 out of 10 is what I give Sparking Zero. If you're a Dragon Ball Z fan in any type of way, manga, anime, movies, card games, I would say try it out. I mean, you can't try it out, but because there's no demo. But I would definitely say if you think you should, if you think it looks cool, that's another compliment I can give Sparking Zero. It does look as cool. It does play as cool as it looks, which a lot of games aren't like that. A lot of games you can get your hand on and you're like, this shit feels terrible. This looks nothing like what was sold to me. But it looks just as good as it looks. I mean, plays just as good as it looks. 10 out of 10 game. But peace. I've seen this video and goodbye.